And welcome back to part 2.
Welcome back to
Seamlessly,
part 2.
welcome back to part 2. It's as though we didn't even bother to stop the video between recording these extra bits and pieces. Again, this is the post-mortem version of commentary because, as we were saying in the previous part there, if you've missed that, you should go and click on that one. But yeah, unfortunately, the audio was still fucked when we were recording this video.
Yeah, we record with live commentary, and unfortunately, the audio files that I recorded have totally fucked up, for lack of a better explanation. And we've had to come back on a Sunday morning without properly watching the video back to see what we did and try and piece together this slapdash commentary over the top.
So, jumping straight back into it here, it looks as though we decided that we needed a revolutionary new sort of launch stage, well, rocket in general. Oh, yeah. We've put the science
station on. Oh, we're obviously getting confident here that we're going to be able to do some meaningful research. I mean, we'd experimented with taking existing rockets and tweaking them. We started off with the Ewok loves the ass mark quotation mark from episode 1 that originally got us into orbit. We're obviously very confident that we're going to do some science because we're sticking the communicator on the front.
I actually think that means we're less confident, but we figured if we get lost in space, at least we could beam some shit back.
But we've clearly went back to the drawing board with this one, though. Rather than modifying an existing design, we've decided that we're going to build a brand new rocket from scratch. We're sticking a lot of science on there
because we know that we're going to make it this time.
Yeah, there's definitely confidence there. I mean, not to put a spoiler in, but I remember what happens on this one, and it's quite exciting.
So it's probably worth hanging around just to
see
the conclusion of that then.
So this is the landing module that we've created. We decided we'd start to try and create a landing module. That's a really top-heavy design.
Yeah.
It's probably not a great design for a landing module, but we're using the parts that we've got. In hindsight, what I probably could have done was stick some girders on the bottom and then put the landers on the girders so that it had a wider surface area for the actual landing.
Yeah, that's maybe something that we're going to come back to in sort of our next part. Actually, just as we're talking, it's something I would like to note. I think in the recording so far, I'd been bitching at you for quite some time because you hadn't been sticking the little aerodynamic nose cones on, and I quite like those, even though I know they serve no earthly purpose. You hadn't been putting those on the other rockets, and I wasn't happy about that.
We had a couple of times. I see where you're going with this because we put some on this one at the end, don't we?
I think so. I think finally you caved.
In fact, I'm starting to remember what we call this rocket.
Yeah. So we'll come back. You see, I'm setting the. You see, that's a pro tip. You see, I'm getting the setup ready. It doesn't help when you just fucking stamp all over it, man. You know, like spoiler alert and whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you're trying to
get the
trying too hard to make it sound like we actually know what we're doing. But yeah, those nose cones that you mentioned, I believe the intention is that they will improve aerodynamics. But at the current build of the game, they don't add a lot. But I think everything has a certain amount of drag. And they don't actually serve to reduce drag at the moment in the current build. So they do in fact add slight.
The thing you've got to understand is that in the same way that you like the little green light on because it reassures you when you're taking off and you're launching.
You like the little nipple nose cones.
Yeah, I like the little nose cones to make us feel better.
So far we've got the lander stage, and then we've got a rocket stage there. And then we've got decouplers on each stage. We're adding another rocket stage on the bottom.
We're getting a lot of fuel into here, but I think going off where previous launches that we had in part 1 there, we kind of said, well, you know what, if we had a bit more fuel, but we had an efficient way of burning it, we could actually get somewhere.
And what we're doing here in the previous rocket, fourth time of failure, as it's still called, we're going to be renaming it. We had 3 solids and 3 liquids on the outside, and it looks like we're going 4 this time.
Raising the ante, you see. That's what I'm saying. More boosters.
More power.
Yeah, more power, more boosters. You get there faster, and you get there in the first place, which is always a bonus.
I mean, there is always a point where adding more weighs you down more, so it is diminishing returns, but even though it's diminishing returns, you are still getting some returns. Now, I seem to be having major problems connecting
you
there.
You swore quite violently at that point, if I remember right.
So yeah, I mean, that's already looking pretty damn sexy, isn't it? With all those shit on a stick. I added another stage to that.
What were we thinking?
Bloody hell, that is one big-ass rocket.
Biggest rocket that's ever been devised by Geordie Space Program.
It is, yeah.
So big, it's interfering with the UI.
Yeah, I really did take
the piss.
Take the piss? No, take your let's add more rockets ethos to heart on this one.
I must have been particularly kind of whiny and aggressive on the recording day.
Well, if I remember, because of the recording problems that we'd been having earlier in the day, we were in quite an aggressive mood by this point.
Probably actually done some favours that the audio has kind of scrambled. Yeah, that is ringing a bell. I think we were actually very, very shouty and aggressive when we were recording this.
Well, the reason the previous rocket, as we discussed in the last part, but we'll add it in case anybody didn't watch that, the reason the rocket was called Fourth Time's a Failure is because we tried to fraps the video 4 times before we actually got anywhere. I was having serious problems with the graphics card's driver on my computer after a recent tweak. So yeah, we've got 2 stages of 4 rockets there.
Sexy. Did we have any solids on this?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go and stick some solids on the outside now. I think that's what's happened. I think we've got...
Yeah, there we go.
So at the very beginning, we're going to have 9 rockets burning, 4 solids, and...
5 of the liquids.
Yeah, 5 of the liquids, and then we go on to 4 liquids. And then we've got another stage of 1 powerful liquid, and then a lander stage, so...
Yeah. I think really what we're trying to do is compensate for the fact that we're not very good at flying or designing, just by saying, well, if we've got lots of fuel to play with, it means that we've got a bigger margin for error.
Oh, here come the nipples. Here come the nipples.
So many. I love it.
An 8-nippled monster.
And
which brings us to the name. Unfortunately, the compressed keyboard I used for this isn't a good typer. Okay,
we should have called it Nipple OP. That would have been quite good, because the nipples are OP.
But it's the nipple party.
There we go.
That is one sexy ass rocket, isn't it? That's probably the biggest rocket I've ever built.
I mean,
because as you mentioned, I'm normally quite sensible and try and create some efficiency with my design. But with this particular one, this is just all about the thrust. That sounds dirty. Thrust and nibbles.
I think we've made that joke quite a few times already. I think. I keep having to resist the urge to do that every time we use the word thrust.
That's what she said.
Yeah, I think we've done that one as well.
So this is me checking the stages because we have had some problems in previous launches. I'm very conscious at this point of making any video that I'm going through the stages, but it's very dull for a viewer as I'm sitting in silence trying to work out what I'm doing, which is why I fuck up quite often, because I try and do it as quickly as possible and inevitably make mistakes.
Fuck that shit. I mean, aside from the very first launch that we did, when you forgot to separate the parachutes from everything else, I think every other time it seems to have worked okay. I think, to be honest.
There are a few times when I've fired things off that could be best kept.
Yeah, but that's got nothing to do with bad staging. That's you panicking and hammering the space button. When in doubt, hit the space button. That should be your mantra. We'll get that tattooed on your forehead.
Right, so we let Bob off on this one because he's flown a few missions. I think we picked Desley, didn't we?
I think so.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to. Because Desley is both courageous and stupid, which are 2 necessary features to fly a rocket of this
magnitude.
I was thinking of explosiveness, if that is in fact a word.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is.
Of this explosiveness. So, look at it, just magnificently perched on the launch pad there. It's on a bit of a funny part of the launch pad.
Cockeyed.
Whoa, that is wonky as piss, isn't it? In fact, isn't that a phrase that you use?
I've used
wonky
that.
As piss.
Yeah, I've used that a few times on previous rocket designs.
I think I'm starting to pick up on your mannerisms there, but that is wonky as piss.
That's never a good thing. You don't want to talk like Gonzo.
Look at how slow that climb is. But it doesn't matter how slow that climb is, because despite that, look at all those fucking... Oh, look, a bit of panicked stage redesign there on the left-hand side of the screen. I obviously did fuck up.
So after 2 minutes of trying to work it out, you still got it wrong. You can see the Rocketeer is just kind of buckling under its own power. It's going off on a slight wonk.
It is going well to
kind of push in on itself.
And the apoapsis is incredibly low. But it doesn't matter, because once we get rid of these rockets, we still have a buttload of power left to use.
Really what we need is those little interconnected struts. We're really going to have to make a push for those, because this rocket would be a monster if we could get some of those little struts to just kind of balance things out a little bit.
Yeah, part of our problem is because we're doing story mode and we haven't invested a lot of time in doing the easy stuff to get signs. We have been moving towards that main goal. See, that is not good staging. That is bad staging. Bad staging.
I think you've just let go of the rocket. See, there you go again. I can't even remember that.
I couldn't remember that. That is awful.
For
staging.
fuck's sake. Every time at the first sight of panic, you just hit the space button. What do you do in real life when you haven't got a space button? You probably just like void your bowels or something.
That wasn't
Jesus.
panic pressing of the space button. That was the stages not being right, because I was supposed to fire that engine at the same time as the other 4 engines went out. Nevertheless, this rocket is doing all right. Well, actually, no, it's not. But I know for a fact it goes from doing badly to doing all right. So I think maybe when we come back to the next episode, we should try and
definitely this is a keeper. I think
use this design, but fix the fucking staging problems that we've been having.
I think that, and I think we need to work a little bit on stability as well, which means that we might need to jump in and get in a little bit more sort of like cheap and easy science, just so we can get those struts. That's I think going to become very apparent.
It is very apparent from the progress so far that we're not good enough to be able to do what we want to do with the basic rocket parts. We are going to need to invest in a bit more, so maybe save the basic framework of this design and then focus on some science crafts. And then once we've gathered a bit of science, we can come back and we can fix it up using, like, take the basic design and then start
spruce it up a little
adding
bit.
all the bells and whistles from the additional things that we've unlocked. Like, see, this is still going well because we still have a decent engine with a decent amount of fuel on it. And then we've got the backup engine after that. The backup engine alone is enough to get you into an orbit, and it looks as though... I can't remember if we get into an orbit using this engine or not, but it looks as though we've
still got
enough
lots of fuel in it though as well.
We do. So imagine if I hadn't fired off 5 engines unnecessarily, how good would we be doing?
We've got video bombed there, I think.
I got video bombed by Kronos there. What was he playing? Bit Trip Runner?
I think so.
One of the Bit Trip games. I say this every time we record. I really need to disable the Steam UI.
Yeah.
But I never do. Oh no! I thought we were still 4th time a failure, but no, 4th time a failure is just stuck in orbit around Kerbal. It's quite a sexy orbit. It's relatively stable there. So balancing it out. No, that's not necessarily overstay. I mean, people say burn towards the apoapsis, but the apoapsis is going to be at 90 degrees when you hit that peak in your orbit, and I always burn at 90 degrees when I'm going into orbit. Might be right, might be wrong. Again, I don't really understand the physics and the mathematics behind it, but logically it makes sense to me to be burning at 90 degrees.
We've got prograde and prolapse.
Prograde and prolapse.
That's kind of the limits of my understanding.
It's prograde and retrograde. It's not prolapse.
It's prolapse when you're hurtling down towards the planet at speed.
We said prolapse before. I don't know if it was in this video.
It was the last one, I think.
It was the last one.
I'm sure.
I was getting confused and trying to burn prolapse. I'm sure some of the Kerbals have prolapsed when they've seen my awful piloting skills.
All of the Kerbals have prolapsed. Effectively, when they get their summoning papers to say you're no longer a candidate, you're now officially one of our Kerbal notes, there's some prolapse goes on there as well, because they know that it's a one-way trip. It's always a one-way trip.
I'm burning at a really bad angle there. I mustn't have noticed that, but... Yeah, I was burning at a horrendous angle there. I mustn't have noticed that during the initial playthrough. I mean, look at that. And I'm still doing it now, even though I can clearly see the nav ball. Or am I intentionally trying to burn away because I'm so far away from the apoapsis?
I seem to remember there was a reason for it, but I can't remember what that reason was.
I've no idea. My reasoning skills aren't that great. But here we are. We are with the nipple party in a sort of orbit. We're skimming the atmosphere a little low on the periapsis. Is that the word?
Prolapsis.
The prolapsis. So, what the hell have I done? Oh yes, this is us demonstrating how far we've come since our first launch. This is the landing point of our first launch. As you can see in the very first video, it's within the first 10 minutes of the video we do our very first landing. And you'll notice it is awfully close to the actual launch pad. And let's just say it wasn't a smooth landing.
No.
I mean, it was Jebediah, who is now lost in space. He survived this, but he barely survived it.
Yeah, if you're kind of just sort of browsing some of these videos and you've clicked on this one, you should go to the first part, and maybe even if you only watch the first 5 minutes, obviously would like you to watch all of it. it's well worth a watch in my humble opinion. But yeah, you should watch the first 5-10 minutes of it to see what happens with our maiden voyage of Geordie Space Program.
Yeah, the first Geordie Space Program launch was fantastic. If NASA's had been so successful,
there wouldn't be a NASA.
Okay, so here we are, getting ambitious, setting a course for the Moon.
Kind of looks. Is that a crash course, or are you still fannying on a bit?
I'm still fannying on. I think that. There we go. I have to set the engine going because
to get the
estimated
right,
burn, and then set a course for the Moon. I mean, we know that
59 1 minute burn. That's doable, you know.
Well, it is doable because we've got a full. I don't think I used that one though, because I think I kind of fucked up a bit on that one. But this. Sorry, I'm kind of engrossed in what I'm doing because I can't really remember this.
That's complete narcissism.
It is
so lost in the glory of your own gameplay.
Well, you know, we did pretty well on this one, and we're sort of reaching an exciting moment in Geordie Space Program where, despite the fact that the rocket completely and utterly fucked up, or should I say the pilot completely and utterly fucked up, firing random bits of the rocket off while we were still in the atmosphere and still could have, you know, used those engines that I decided to toss away so willy-nilly and carefree. We're now in the position where, with a 54-second burn and almost a full tank of fuel, we can get to the Moon.
Not doing too bad here. I mean, it is completely doable. 54-second burn. Yeah, full tank.
Oh, let's not pretend that we don't know how this goes. We know exactly how this goes.
Oh, hey, just any kind of tension that I'm trying to build up here in our post commentary, and
well, there's a lot of the video that has genuinely surprised me that I didn't remember, and I am sketchy on a lot of it. But this is the last flight of the video, and I remember this bit relatively well. I say relatively well.
Well, so do I, but the point is to suspend your belief, you see. I'll suspend your disbelief. You need to suspend something and then make it more exciting. That's the key.
So here we go, we're starting the burn. I started the burn well late, actually. I should have wrapped it around, so it was a nearly 60-second burn, so I should have started burning around 30 seconds before the T node, whereas I left it till about 15 seconds before, so I nipped into the nav screen here so I can see how the actual trajectory, which is that moving blue line based on the burn, is going to line up with the projected trajectory of the manoeuvre node, which is that lovely dotted orange line. Now it's moving very slowly, it always does because we're using this little slim engine, but the further you push it out, the quicker it goes.
Yeah, and of course it's because we're increasing our speed as well, so exponentially it's going to get bigger.
So we've already surpassed Bill's orbit with Desley.
Look, we've totally done that. Success.
And that's because I'm just such an amazing pilot.
So I think this was kind of like a little bit of fine-tuning. I think that's what we're kind of doing. Oh, no, that'll do. Fuck it. There we go.
So there we go.
Lunar orbit?
Intercept course. Well, not quite an orbit. I'm not sure if I'm set to smack directly into that or not.
Hopefully we double-checked. I don't think so. I think when we briefly looked at the encounter... There we go.
Well, that's quite a distance away.
But it's it's within viewing distance. That's a good thing. It's the closest we'll have ever been, I think.
No, did Jebediah not loop around it? Jebediah, if I remember rightly, Jebediah, who's the one who's in that massive orbit that's going off screen there.
Yeah.
There we go. That's Jebediah. That was a really handy zoom out, wasn't it? Perfect zoom out. That's Jebediah in that craft there. If I remember rightly, he's sitting on a gold mine of science because he got into he got into the moon's sphere of influence and did a few scientific experiments, so he's holding on to some valuable data. Unfortunately, he's got no way of transmitting it back to Kerbal Space Center, and he is lost in space, having run out of fuel.
It's a shame that we can't just strap a rocket to an antenna and just find some sort of way of firing it at him, and then just kind of launch that into the ship. That would have been perfect.
And I still think that hopefully one day we might be able to recover him, but it's well above my both building and piloting ability at this point in time to even comprehend something like that.
All we need to do is, because he does pass very close to Kerbin, all we need to do is get something orbiting around and then just wait for the right time. I'm sure we can do it. That's probably going to be a bit of a longer term objective, though, let's be fair.
I mean, we could spend several episodes just trying to get that right. It may be worth trying it once just to see how difficult it is to give us the idea. So, I'm zooming time a little bit forward there. I'm trying to be careful because quite often I get carried away and distracted when I'm zooming time forward, especially when I'm trying to have a conversation at the same time and do video commentary, so it's not uncommon for me to massively overshoot. And if I were to overshoot here, that would be devastating. I mean, it looks as though that's either a very close loop on the Mun, or that loop's actually going through the body of the Mun, in which case that makes it a crash course. What do you think? If I was in control of this, if we weren't doing it retrospectively, I'd zoom in. No, I'm zooming out. That was very helpful. Very helpful, Ewok. Thank you very much, you prick. Oh, there we go.
Holy shit.
Right, so... I'm forgetting how to read this again. I really should play a little bit more in between sessions on my personal game, just so I don't forget how the game works. But there's the Mun there. There's us.
We're getting there, just a nice panorama.
And there it is. Not too far away now. That's a lovely little view, isn't it?
It was.
So the nipple party is going. Do you remember how this ends? I remember how this ends.
Sterling, from what I remember, absolutely fine and dandy. I don't see why...
this could be the last episode of Geordie Space Program, couldn't it, really?
Well, let's not go that far.
Our target is to get to the Mun and get back again.
Even so, though, I still don't think we're properly done until Jebediah's back.
You think it's a new goal to get Jebediah back?
I think it should be kind of like a secondary objective.
Death or glory.
We need them.
There we go, doing a bit of data research here.
10 science.
If we transmit, we only get 3. So I think we decide to keep the data. And we do have the transmitter there. Also, we didn't put any extra batteries on this. So transmitting could... potentially drain the entire battery and render
25?
That's so sexy. So that's 35 science. That's pretty good, like, isn't it? So I think that's probably all the science that we've got to do here, unless I get cocky and go out and do a spacewalk. So I'm expecting that I'm going to start zooming the time forward. Oh, there you go. Called it, and yeah, we are on a
crash.
We are on a crash course. And by crash course, I mean their perfect landing trajectory.
Yeah, well, you've got to... Well, I mean, effectively, that's what a landing is, isn't it? It's a controlled crash.
A controlled crash. So we've got a bit of fuel left there. We've got the parachutes, but the parachutes aren't going to do us any good because the Moon doesn't have an atmosphere on which the parachutes can attach. So it's getting sexy. I mean, the target is to get to the Moon and get back again, and we're only 2 episodes in. Although we are on part 2 of episode 2, just to try and break things up a bit.
But I mean,
this is our second recording session.
In real terms as well, it's less than 3 hours of gameplay that we've had. We'll add up all the times of where individual parts.
That's true. The first video was around about an hour and a half, I think.
Yeah, maybe slightly longer.
And this session was about an hour, and we broke it into 2 parts. I've just probably given away the fact that this video doesn't have very long left.
Well, yeah, but people will have like a red bar under the video. You know, it's a really clever feature where you can see how long a video goes on for.
That's a good point. So I am, in fact, spoiling nothing with that. These computers confuse me.
Well, so, that's a shame because you're the fucking technical wizard in the head shed that is GonzoEwok.
If by technical wizard you mean I've got a few pieces of software that I bought a few years ago and never learned how to use and are now attempting to cobble together video footage using them.
Yeah, that's technical wizardry.
It's not even... I don't know what software most people use. I like to say that my software isn't the kind of software that normal people would use, but I've got no idea what people do use to put the videos together. In
my experience of sort of checking out other YouTubers and seeing what sort of kit they use, usually they've got better kit than what we're using.
Well, I've got Nero 10, which I use to cobble these videos together, which is something I bought just because I had to play around with it once and I quite liked it. But I'm by no means a technical expert. So we're coming in at 500 metres a second.
We haven't got very much fuel left, that's a concern. We've used quite a bit on that burn.
We have, yeah. Which I don't know why, because we were on a collision course, so there was no real need to reduce the apoapsis there. But we've got a nice sexy lander. We've got a transmitter.
It's got legs on it.
It's got legs on it.
That's all you need. Come on, Desley. First curbing on the Mun.
So again, I'm not really sure what we were talking about at this point, but I know that because we record live, we don't record highlights, that we would have been having to fill the gap somehow, because at this sort of height, I would be very reluctant to start increasing the speed of the gameplay, because I don't want to fuck up, and also there's some pretty mountainous regions on the Mun that come in thousands of meters above sea level, so you're never really sure when you're going to touch down.
You can see that, like your speed's coming in sort of quite fast. I mean, that's not a great speed to be making contact with something, so you're just kind of holding it over prolapse. Just keeping it hovered there.
Prograde.
Prolapse.
But the parachutes, when you hit the parachutes, you tend to come in with a speed of around 9 meters a second. So that's sort of an ideal landing speed. So, where
60 times that, nearly, probably a bit more.
Yeah, more than 60 times ideal landing speed, which isn't ideal, but there's some fuel there.
It means we're getting there quick, though.
It does, yeah. I mean, Desley looks confident.
He's calm and composed like a Hindu cow.
That's probably because he's courageous and stupid.
He's just totally up for this.
I hide that for some reason. Oh, there we go. There's the surface.
Yeah, I think I'd ask you to put that on just to see.
So around
the horizontal as opposed to the vertical.
So here's me burning.
Yep.
Getting the speed down. Speed's coming down nicely there, nice and fast. Fuel is unfortunately going down nice and fast. Now I remember around about this stage in the live commentary, which we've unfortunately had to abandon.
I demanded you put the legs out.
I believe you were starting to shout at me now, saying, "We're going to die, we're going to die. Transmit the science, transmit the science." And this is me thinking,
how do I do
I
that?
can't quite remember how to do that.
That's trying to click.
Not being able to find it. Oh shit! Here
you did a crew report.
Crew report, transmit, and boom.
Fuck sticks.
Desley is dead at 2,340 metres above sea level. And that's about it. Geordie Space Program Episode 2. Our goal is to get to the Mun and get back again. We are now 50% of the way
I never
towards
thought
our
of it
goal.
like that.
And the video footage has ended, so there'll be a blank screen sitting on the video now. So I think we'd best say goodbye. So goodbye from me, Ewok,
and goodbye from me, Gonzo. Remember to like all the channels.
Remember, we've got other videos and stuff. Please watch them. Bye.